Let's play ball. Welcome to the 2022 Bladtcast MLB Preview Show. As always, I am Christian Blatt. Over there is the wingman you need when you're talking ball, the one, the only, David Weiss himself. Salman, how are you, sir?
Sup, America?
And you have the distinction of being the only man that I know who has ever joined me for a White Castle at 10:30 in the morning, which was on our way back from Vegas back in November.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was a great snack.
Look, I hadn't had one while I was there, and we don't have White Castle in Los Angeles. They have them in the Vegas area. I was like, oh, I'm stopping. And when I actually pulled into the exit, you're like, oh, you were serious. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't joke about White Castle.
I was telling somebody that story last night. He thought I meant 10:30 at night.
I mean, any civilian
he was impressed with the 10:30 a.m.
Yeah. Any civilian can eat White Castle at 10:30 in the evening. I think it takes a true professional and a true visionary to enjoy a White Castle hamburger at 10:30 in the morning. And someone I would like to ask this very question to is our third friend, David Brody, who has not only worn some Mets gear such as myself, he's there in the Mets corner. David, welcome to the Bladtcast for the first time ever.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here, Christian. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had a little browser problem. I couldn't get in earlier, so I'm sorry.
It is not the first time that has happened. StreamYard is great as long as you have the latest version of Chrome. After that, it gets a little dicey. David, this is also David Weiss, known as Sal. I explained to you that he has been Salman for most of his adult life. And
that's right.
At this point, you can't really go back. We were talking about something very important before we dive into baseball. On our last drive back from Vegas back in November, I had mentioned to David that we were going to stop at White Castle because we don't have them in Los Angeles. But in Jean, Nevada, they have one right before you leave Vegas proper.
Yeah, part of the big truck stop there.
Yep, big truck stop there. And we stopped and got it, despite the fact that it was 10:30 in the morning. I hadn't had one in years, and I did not regret that decision. Have you ever enjoyed a White Castle, David Brody, at a time that is completely inappropriate for White Castle?
I have enjoyed White Castle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's the answer.
It's so good. You're willing. Yes, you are willing to drive into the bad neighborhoods because that's usually where they're located.
Also
at least
true.
Here in the East Coast.
Yep.
In fact, growing up in Brooklyn, the one near us had bulletproof glass when you walked in. Right. And then the drive-through had a bulletproof glass box. So they would put the food in the box, rotate it around.
In the liquor stores.
So the opening would then come to you so that if they shot at you, the bullets wouldn't go through. There was no window.
Bullets would hit the glass.
As brilliant as that is, that tells you that at one time there used to not be the revolving door, and the bulletproof glass with the little opening didn't work. Someone had to die to force necessity is the mother of invention. So my guess is some people flipping burgers were shot and robbed, so they created the rotating bulletproof glass of deliciousness. So yes, murder burgers. In my opinion, the original Sliders was White Castle.
Yep.
And we used to have a challenge after work. We would stack up how many boxes, how many you could eat. And we would eat like 15 to 20 of them in a given seating. And that was when they were like 15, 20 cents. Back in my day, So now that they're $1 something, it's kind of weird. But no, White Castle, hands down over any burger. In-N-Out, forget it. No, White Castle.
In-N-Out is overrated.
I agree.
In-N-Out is incredibly overrated. I've lived in Los Angeles for almost 20 years. I don't think it's a bad fast food burger, but once Shake Shack came out here, I was like, I just don't need it anymore now. I think people, when you don't live out here, I can completely understand I got to get one. But I mean, I would even prefer a fat burger. Now that's a show we should do. We should just do fast food hamburgers. But
yes, fat burger has really good chili fries.
Who has good chili fries?
The Fat Burger, if I remember correctly, they have the really thin French fries.
Oh, you don't have Tommy's.
No, we have Checkers, which is also excellent. If you like,
Yeah.
Again, but
they deep fry their fries.
Yeah. So
I mean,
Checkers.
they're battered.
Yes, Checkers opens in the locations that White Castle said was too dangerous.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's fun to think about, all the places. I did once go to a Church's Chicken in Washington, D.C. that was set up exactly the way you're talking about. And I remember when when I lived in Hoboken, when the Dunkin' Donuts installed one right by the front door, like one of those height charts, like for when kids are growing, so that I guess when the store got robbed, you were able to say, well, they were about 5'4".
Oh, that's
right. That's
brilliant.
7-Elevens have those. All of the convenience stores have them. Yeah. That's why if you're going to rob a store, you wear lifts.
Yeah. Well,
This is good advice. People should write that down. Yeah. That's advice from David Brody.
It's How to Commit a Crime podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, David. And for simplicity's sake, I will always refer to Sal as Sal and you as David.
Okay.
I've known him
no bounty
for
on my head, so that's good.
Yeah, I've known him for almost 20 years, and I very rarely don't call him Sal. It's very unusual to introduce him as David. But David, Sal and I have spent a lot of time whenever we do any of our baseball shows. We do them a couple times a year. We spend a lot of time talking about Mets pain and history. And since this is your first rodeo with us, take a couple moments to talk about how far back you go and some of the more painful moments that you've had to live through as a Mets fan.
Well, I would say the first season I remember and the first yearbook I got, because we used to go every year, was 1972.
Beautiful.
Which was not a great year, but there was some hope. And then, of course, 73 I was 6. And so I was already collecting baseball cards and really following the game and watching the playoffs and the Orioles and the A's. And so I didn't understand then that Yogi Berra should have pitched Tom Seaver on 5 days rest for game 7 and how he blew it by pitching him in game 6, and bringing him back when he wasn't ready. But I just thought the A's were a powerhouse. And then after 73, it doesn't get much worse than that because 74
that was the wasteland. Yeah, that was when they had slogans like "Bring your kids to see our kids" because they had all the young up and coming players.
That's right, and it culminated in 1980 with "The Magic Is Back," which it wasn't. So I grew up on
wasn't so
I grew up on Steve Henderson and Joel Youngblood, Hendu, Lee Mazzilli. Roy Lee Jackson, Mike Brewert, was the.
Don't forget George. Don't forget George Theodore.
George the Stork, number 9,
the
if Stork, I remember
correctly.
Number 9. Yeah, very good. I remember when they traded Seaver, for Steve Henderson, Pat Zachary, Doug Flynn, and Dan Norman.
A dark day.
And the fact that Doug Flynn had an inside the park home run one year and he won a Gold Glove, that was the highlight. And every time Pat Zachary pitched, and Bob Murphy would always say, "Oh, the lanky right-hander from Texas."
Murph is missed.
Yeah, Murph is missed, and so is Kiner's Corner. Mostly just to see what kind of sport coat Ralph would be wearing on a given day.
The best thing about Kiner's Corner, and by the way, I don't know why they haven't named left field. In the corner, Kiner's Corner at the stadium.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Think about how times have changed. The other team's superstars, the star of the game, would come on Kiner's Corner, a local WOR TV production. They had no interest, nothing to promote, but they wanted the celebrity. But they got a gift card to a steakhouse and a gold watch from Seiko, some cheap watch, And what baseball player now would go on an after show for the opposing team for a steakhouse gift card and a watch, right? Back then the players didn't make any money, so a free steak dinner. I'll go on Kiner's Corner, sure.
And they were
Keith Hernandez talks about that.
They didn't have time to shower. I remember just sweaty guys sitting there in their Mets warm-up jacket.
Yep.
And, Ralph is half in the bag. So
half.
Half, yeah.
I mean,
half.
I think that Harry Carey would watch Mets broadcasts and be like, "Hey, they should really cut back a little, don't you think?"
So I remember giving blood at my junior high school to get free tickets.
Nice.
The tickets were, upper deck, but there was no one in the stadium. So, for $5 you could sit field level because all the guys were taking money.
Well, that was those were the days where the ushers, that was their job. They
Right.
supported the family on $5 tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would move you down closer. And when the people with the tickets showed up, they're like, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of you.
Don't worry. Yeah, I'll move you."
If you only had to move twice, it was a good game.
Absolutely.
But sometimes I'd have to move a couple of times.
Oh,
But look, the ushers were always there for you. So
that's right.
But that really seems to be have gone the way of Shea Stadium. I don't feel like they look the other way on that practice at Citi Field. So
there's I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I there's still some of that going on.
Is there?
That's
good to know.
So, all right, we'll talk off air.
Yeah, we'll talk off air. There's certain ways, and you have to have paper in your hand, so it looks like you have a paper ticket. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, I'll have to remember.
We've got a couple people in the live chat. Ken is so excited for opening day. So are we. As soon as we figure out who's pitching, and Dominicus Saxon, great friend of the podcast, not a big baseball fan, drop by to support the cause and hit like. You know what? That's honestly just. It's like if somebody's a Nielsen family, just like leave your TV on and watch our shows or whatever. It's the same thing. Just stream it. You can even hit mute. You don't have to actually pay attention. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I've done that with my podcast where I've told people, just you're at work, just hit play, just turn the sound off. I get a download count for that. It's good.
Well, we'll get a proper plug in at the end, but take a moment to talk about the podcast that you do.
Well, I'm on 3, so I'll go in reverse order. I'm on the Elvis Duran 15-minute morning show, which is something that the whole cast does after the show. It has nothing to do with the show. It's sort of a free-flowing, let's talk about anything, use profanity if we want, kind of 15 minutes that we do. And we it's audio, but we also film it. We do a Zoom call, which you can see at Elvis Duran Show on Instagram. I do a Walking Dead podcast called Walkers and Talkers. If you watch the show, you'll know what that means. And we review the episodes, and I try to be funny and amusing about what went on. And then I would say my main podcast is the Brooklyn Boys. My friend and co-host, co-producer on the morning show, Scary Jones, and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, where Saturday Night Fever was filmed. And we didn't grow up together. We're a few years apart, but we basically talk about our lives, things that happened, bad customer service experiences, observations, and we put a Brooklyn sarcastic, annoyed asshole spin on everything. Pardon my language. So
no, there's no need to apologize for the language on this show.
Okay.
And I think having things that spin off from a tremendously successful morning show like Elvis Duran's, obviously it creates great opportunities. Interestingly, the Bladtcast started as an extension of the old Dennis Miller radio show, because it was like, we'll just talk about that. And then we did that for like 2 weeks. And then we're like, we're just going to talk about the stuff we're interested in. But that was the idea. And that was how we got it on Dennis's website. And, and yet here we are 487 episodes later, still doing it.
Well, we're only up to 213, but ours started because we would pitch ideas to Elvis that maybe didn't fit the demographic, or we thought were funny, but maybe he thought they were too juvenile. And he'd always say, years before podcasts, he would say, why don't you guys do that on your show? We don't have a show. That's why we pitch you. You go, well, I'm not doing that. You get a show someday, you do it. And we would argue sometimes, like Brooklyn, over whatever we were arguing over. And he'd say, the Brooklyn Boys are fighting again. And so when we decided to do a podcast, I used the name, and we just decided to do everything we ever pitched to him that he didn't want to do. And we just kept it going. So it's just what we think is funny.
Before we dive into baseball, let me ask you what might be a controversial Brooklyn question. Is Peter Luger's overrated?
Yes.
Okay.
I like it. I like the whipped cream. I like the dessert. I like that they cut the steak up. I find the steak is that. Yeah, I do like that. But what I don't like is that they cook it once it's cut up a little more, and the edges all get crusty. And I like the rare. I like to see the uncooked middle. So
which, by the way, if you need a name for podcast number 4, the uncooked middle.
Uncooked middle. That's right. That's right. So I like it when they cook it medium rare and then they slice it for you, and they present it nicely. But I like to see the middle of the meat uncooked. But the service is okay. It's supposed to be steakhouse rude, which it is. I've enjoyed other stakes more, and it's a lot of money for a hard to park area. So yeah. I assume you asked me that question because you agree that it's a little overrated.
What happened was my brother still lives in New York. He lives at the corner of Bleecker and Broadway, and
Nice.
he's lived there for like 25 years. So usually, we have like one big meal once a year when I go back. And I would always try and take him there. And he's like, no, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. And I've been a couple of times. One time I went for a bachelor party. It was exactly what you're saying. Okay. But this was in the days where I don't even know if you can pay with a credit card now, but you had to like sign up for their credit card or pay cash.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is especially at a bachelor party. I'm like, I've already got cash on hand for other activities later in the evening. I don't need steak money.
Sure. And how do you pay for a steak with singles? So.
Yeah, right, exactly. So and now Sal, you actually went to just recently, earlier this year. You went.
Well, but I've been to the Great Neck location.
Oh, okay.
Which it's exactly the same except that there's parking.
Oh, I mean, that's all I really need.
Same attitude, just more money.
Yeah. Same attitude, more money.
It's why you go to the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in Pasadena, because you can park.
Yeah.
And in Hollywood, you can't.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't know. The steak is good. Have I had better? Maybe. I was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and I had some terrific steak at Delmonico's, which is an Emerald restaurant.
Sure.
And pretty damn good. Was it as good as Luger's? Probably up there. And Luger's is coming to Vegas, by the way.
Really?
They're opening up in Caesars. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's a done deal.
Vegas is determined to create an environment where you never want to travel anywhere else in the country, because like all the things that you want to go somewhere else is like, we got that here too.
Yeah, Carmine's, my favorite Italian restaurant in New York, Carmine's, is in Vegas, and Caesars, I think.
Yes. I think it's actually
in the Forum Shop.
It's at the Venetian, I think. And
no.
We've taken
Carmine's is at the Forum Shop.
Okay. Well, we've taken the kids there because that's like our big family outing when we go to Vegas. I love Carmine's and always have. So these are some restaurant recommendations that people can write down. We will finally focus on baseball. Just give us one steakhouse that you think would be better than Peter Luger, and I will write that down and text it to my brother after the show.
I like Old Homestead. It's more expensive, but I like it a lot.
Okay,
that's all right.
There's an Old Homestead in Caesars too, in Vegas.
See, look at
that.
There
you go. If it exists in Caesars, it has to be top of the line.
More expensive is fine because my brother's paying, so that's going to be.
Then please count me in.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's right. We'll all go. All right. So we're all Mets fans, and anybody who follows baseball, even sort of in a tertiary way, they kind of know the Mets usually are behind the eight ball with injuries in recent years. And unless you're a fan of, maybe the Phillies or the Braves, a lot of people have felt bad for us over the last couple weeks. There's the main reason is that, we have this owner we finally have an owner who wants to spend money. They got all these pieces. We have Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. Hard to argue with the idea of, you can rank other pitchers above or between them, but the best 1-2 that you could have. And then Jake feels a little tenderness in the arm, so he's going to be gone for a little bit. Sal knocked over his phone, but that's all right. And here, I'll let whatever you're trying to do, I'll let you fix it off camera. So we miss out on Jake for a little bit. And then there was this concern that Max Scherzer, it was just some hamstring tightness. And everybody immediately, Mets fans and non, were like, oh my God, they're both hurt. Well, no, because Scherzer is going to pitch on Friday. He's not going to pitch in the first game.
Scherzer's a bull. If he's not going to pitch the first game, he's hurting.
Yeah, but the fact is that, today was the day they threw him. They want him to go on Friday. He's just like, whatever. But if they had said, can you go on Thursday? We need you to. I'm sure he would have.
He would have gutted out 5 innings.
I'm a little, and, the DeGrom situation, Sal and I are lucky that we actually got to see him pitched last year. San Diego was one of the last starts that he made. We planned a whole day trip down there for it, and it was well worth it. It was good because we didn't see him again, even on TV. So
Yep.
I'll ask you first, David. So we have all this swirling around. As we look at the National League East, where we always start because it's what we care the most about, do you feel that, well, maybe you didn't even have the Mets as your pick beforehand. What do you think this does? And do you see somebody else being the team most likely to win the NL East?
Well, I think you have to take at least 3 or 4 wins off the board at this point because Scherzer's going to, now they're saying June 1st. Originally it was 4 weeks, which would have put you into the 3rd week of April, a couple of weeks of rehab, maybe mid-May. Now you're looking at June 1st minimum. And, listen, I know it's new ownership, but this uniform with the Mets across it always adds another month. The Mets are like a contractor. We'll be finished in a week. They're finished in 3 weeks. The job always runs long. Yeah. So,
all I needed was a new sink. Why did it cost $20 million? That just did.
Well, it was attached to a wall that had to come down, and the wall was in your backyard, and the backyard's got a sinkhole. That's got
your zip code studs in the wall.
Plus, we once a year we have to let Bobby Bonilla take a shit in your toilet. So
that's right. On July 1st. On July 1st.
Pay him $1 million to take a shit in your toilet.
Right. I was hoping that the Freddie Freeman thing put a dent in the Braves, but it didn't because they replaced them very easily. I would have told you a week and a half ago that the Mets were my pick. And now, without DeGrom and the reminder that Scherzer's 37 years old, I think right now, the Braves are a slight favorite because they're going to lose a few wins with this DeGrom thing. I don't think Cookie Carrasco is your answer. However, even with a $300 million payroll, I like knowing that I'm not going to hear at the trade deadline, we're getting guys back from injury. So that's the same thing as making trades at the deadline. I know they're going to pick up people at the deadline that could be a difference maker to put them past the Braves. And you don't know who's going to get injured with the Braves, but I would say to answer your question right now, Braves by a game or 2.
Yeah, that's fair. And over the Mets. So, okay. And that wouldn't preclude the Mets from making the postseason because pretty much everybody gets in now.
Yeah,
you can.
I'm in the postseason.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Right. Thank you very much.
You kind of backed in, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Look, Larry, who's a Phillies fan, makes this point and love the avatar with the fanatic. The 19 Philly Mets games are front loaded on the schedule. So not exactly sad to miss a bunch of Jacob deGrom starts. Hope he gets well. Mostly because of the fact that you're not to play. The interesting thing about the Phillies as you look at this division is they've got like 4 DHs in their lineup, and the National League has a DH now, so they can use one of them.
That's right.
So with a Philly fan friend of mine, I've just said I want to see how many times during the season they have more errors than runs scored because they're going to give some away, but they do have a great lineup. They have a couple of really solid pitchers. But I don't see them in the conversation as much as I want to say Mets. And I agree with David in the sense that if DeGrom was starting on Thursday and Scherzer was starting on Friday, even the Mets doom and gloom that I expect from the season, I would be very comfortable picking them. There's also, maybe I'm trying to do some reverse psychology for this pick. And I will also pick the Braves to win the division and the Mets to be in second place because I need to believe that they'll make at least one of the wild cards because I just need something at this point. Before the season even starts, I can't give up all hope. I'm not a Cincinnati Reds fan. Sal, what do you think?
Yes. I'm going to make it unanimous on the Braves, with the Mets are probably going to be, what was their record last year? I didn't do my research.
Well, we did all kinds of.
I know they were like.
I'll find it.
They were more than a couple of games under 500.
Yeah, I thought 74 wins maybe or
something like that.
They were 77 and 85. So they had a 475 winning percentage and they were third in the division. The Braves won with
Yep.
88 wins. So,
Okay.
yeah.
The
And
Mets are probably a 500 team, and
Yeah.
that's just not enough for the playoffs, I don't think.
I
If
agree.
DeGrom was pitching the whole year, I would say, they might squeak in. But with that uncertainty, June 1st, that's a soft June 1st. I mean, what if he goes out and pitches June 1st and then, June 22nd, he's sore again?
I mean, what if he has a
shoulder thing?
What if he has a weekend road trip with Yoenis Cespedes? He might lose an arm forever, So
what he could step in a hole,
or both his ankles, right?
Right, exactly.
Chased
Larry,
by a wild boar.
finishing the thought about the Phillies. If you have to be an incomplete team, the best type to be is one that hits a lot of dingers. The Yankees have been doing it for 10 years. They're
and it's not working.
No, I mean they have a ballpark that is suited for that, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Yeah, look, I just feel pretty confident that that they will play better than they had. It's funny, David, Sal knows this, that about 20 years ago or so, that would have been when they hired Art Howe. There was this idea of the Mets hiring Showalter, and a couple of times his name has come up, and I'm just like, I really don't like what he's all about. I just don't want what he brings. We've had so many bad managers since then. I'm like, yeah, great. Let's have him. Let's do it. Let's see what he can do, because it hasn't really worked very well. I liked Willie Randolph, but that was very quick. That it all kind of went in the wrong direction. So
he lost the team quickly for whatever reason, and then
he
came
must
in.
Be go ahead.
The gangster mentality, and it seemed to click for a while. I'm surprised Willie hasn't gotten a job since. I'm surprised about that.
I'm surprised too. Maybe he's a dick.
It could be.
If you don't, everybody else gets a second chance. I mean, Dusty Baker gets thousands of chances, and what does he have? He has one ring. Or no rings.
I think he has. No he still has none.
I think his fingers.
Last year is the year
naked.
he could. If he had beaten the Braves, he would have gotten his first one last year.
Right.
So I mean, look, I want to be wrong, but they made some improvements to this team. Notably,
definitely
Scherzer, but. Honestly, I don't think they're that much better than they were last year. I think that the Nationals are terrible and the Marlins are very consistent in terms of how bad they are. So I think an average team in this division will do well, because you can beat up on those two teams.
But the Mets had trouble. Mets had trouble with the Marlins all last year.
I remember.
Remember?
Yeah. I do. So let's we'll get back to flyover country because 2/3 of us are here on the West Coast. Let's talk about the NL West. Last year, the Giants won by a game, and our Dodger fan friend Daniel Beck, who is watching a little bit later from Tokyo, will tell you that they won because of a bad call from an umpire in one very specific game. And I was at that game, so he might not actually be wrong. But I don't see any reason to not pick the Dodgers to win the NL West, because of they've added pieces. It was a lot of, their pitching is not as good as it has been. They do have Craig Kimbrell as their closer, which I think is an improvement over Kenley Jansen, but time will tell. It's kind of the biggest no-brainer as you look at all these divisions that the Dodgers would win. Sal, do you actually watch a lot of Dodger games? I don't.
I do. I watch enough. I watch enough to have an informed opinion. Yeah. I mean, they're clearly the favorite in that division. The Giants. You have to figure. I mean, subtract Chris Bryant. He was a part of the playoff run, and a lot of guys on the Giants who were middling players had career years, and I just don't expect that to happen again. I think they're a third place team this season.
So you don't think that Kevin Gausman is actually, I don't even think they still have him now that I think about it. So yeah, there was a lot of guys where you're like, how are these guys winning? But
Yeah, right.
David, obviously your focus is on the Mets, but unfortunately they have to play a team like the Dodgers at least twice a year. So you
Yep.
get to see pretty well how they match up. What are your thoughts for their likelihood of winning, or maybe you have some intel and you're like, you know what, this is a Colorado Rockies year. I can feel it.
Yeah, put all your money on the Rockies. You can trust me on that. Just tell them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to bet against the Dodgers when you add Freddie Freeman to an amazing team. So they lost Scherzer. They didn't really have him, but they lost him from the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they lost Seager, right?
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
But they replaced
Right,
him
but
with Trey
they
Turner.
replaced him with Trey
Right.
Turner,
Right,
so,
which is an upgrade.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the fact that they planned ahead when they had a star shortstop and they add a better star shortstop just tells you what you're up against, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what their pitching staff has left. They've lost some bullpen pieces, but the lineup is ridiculous. Muncy's fantastic. Nobody even mentions him because they have so many other superstars.
I agree. Yeah.
I just think they're loaded and they're financially loaded. And like I said with the Mets earlier, whatever they need, they're just going to go get. It's like the Yankees of old, where the Yankees would just go buy whatever they needed. The Dodgers are listen, I'm amazed that my Mets are in the same league now financially with the Dodgers. It's, from the Coupons, the Wilpon family. I mean, they were good.
I've
They
never
were
heard
good
that
people.
before. That's a good
Freddie
one.
Coupon, the Coupons. That's
I love that.
It's an old New York thing. I happen to know them, and I was sort of friendly with them over the years, and they're good people.
Really?
They just weren't good. Yeah. So a little bit about me, real quick, is I've since 2000, I've written all of their postseason songs. So if you know the song "Who Let the Mets Out," I wrote that. I produced it. Had the Baja Men sing it. So I became friendly with front office and management types. And so I've gotten to meet them a few times. In fact, they had me do a prank phone call one year. They were sitting around the table, and we do something called a phone tap on the Elvis Duran Morning Show, where you prank people, prank listeners. They had me do a prank on Jay Horowitz. I called him up. Jay Horowitz, if you don't know, was the long-term PR guy. No, they had me. He was arranging something, and I screwed up the plans. I said it wasn't working out. And although he didn't get upset, the best part about Jay was when he hung up on me in anger, or at least his version of anger, he didn't hang up. And so I got to hear him and record him for the rest of the afternoon, going and getting like food on the street and getting in a car and a cab. He left his phone on.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So the Wilpons are okay, but I'd rather have a guy with a $300 million payroll every time. And I'm a hypocrite because as a Mets fan, the Yankees, you guys buy championships. You got, okay, it's fine.
I would love to buy a championship just once.
Sure.
How it feels.
I feel like every 35 years you should be allowed to buy one.
But just to dive into that a little bit, Alonso homegrown, DeGrom
100%.
homegrown, Dom Smith homegrown. It's
McNeil.
not all about it's
Nimmo.
not all about buying Nimmo. Yeah. It's not all about buying a championship.
100%.
I definitely agree, and it doesn't always work for everybody anyway. But I like having an owner that basically it held up the season because they needed to change the rules for how they invoked the luxury tax specifically for our owner. Yeah, the Cohen rule. I did fly over country, the NL Central. It's I tend to have teams that I don't like to pick. And then this year I picked the Braves. And as much as I want to pick the Milwaukee Brewers, I have to look at the teams in that division and how they played last year. And I feel like the Cardinals are going to go back to just winning it for a while. That's just sort of, the Cardinal way is apparently, I guess, re-sign Albert Pujols for the last year. And then, I guess it seems fitting, and we'll see how many at-bats he actually gets. I was shocked that the Dodgers started him down the stretch a couple of times. I think he even got a start in the playoffs, which I don't understand. But so I don't know. I can't see any of those other teams. I have an affinity for the Milwaukee Brewers for two reasons. I love the old logo, and I'm so glad it's back. The baseball
Brilliant.
glove MB.
The best.
Love that. That's the best logo.
Most
And it
clever.
was
Yep.
designed by a fan. So that's why it's so good. And I love Bernie Brewer coming down the slide. He doesn't go into a beer mug anymore. That's fine.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
And the sausage
and then
races.
also the sausage race.
Yes, I hate to jump ahead.
I'm all in. I'm all in on. I have a hat for the sausage race that if I was thinking, I would be wearing right now.
Are you a long-time kielbasa fan? Are you? I was a kielbasa fan since I was this big.
No, I'm a chorizo guy.
Nice.
Yeah,
really,
Latin.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive to Vegas before opening day, and I'm gonna put money on the chorizo to win more sausage races this year. I'll also do that as a parlay with the Nationals. I have Abe Lincoln winning more of the president's race this year.
Sweet.
Yeah. But apart from that, what do you think when you take a look? You know, we see all these teams. Cardinals just always seem to win, and you know, they've got it's been like a decade since I guess they won the World Series, but still, they win more than we do. What do you think, David?
Well, I heard a stat on the Mets Cardinals game, and I didn't realize this, but it doesn't surprise you. I think it's been 50 years since they lost like that 2 losing seasons in a row, something insane like that they just don't lose 2 seasons. Yeah. 2 losing seasons. It's amazing. The Cardinal way, as you pointed out, before they fired their manager, win 19 in a row at the end of the year.
Yep.
To make the playoffs. I feel like they have a little more financial leeway, a little more big name talent than the Brewers. Although I like the Brewers pitching, I feel like they're still looking to trim payroll. They're not going to make any big pickups at the trade deadline. I think they're a little hamstrung. So I give them a shot at a wild card with all the teams that make it, but I have to go Cardinals. And the rest of the division is horrific. As much as the Cubs tried to piece something together, you lost all your stars, and now you're just it's terrible.
They're trying to piece something together. It remains to be seen if they can make it to 500.
Yeah, you think Marcus Stroman wasn't happy in New York last year? Wait till you see how he does pitching. Tuesday afternoons at Wrigley.
I give it till the middle of. So what comes first for you guys? Jacob deGrom comes back, or Stroman has a Twitter rant and blames his teammates and the media? Which is going to happen first?
Well, definitely Stroman.
Stroman.
Yeah, that's definite.
But he'll have that before June 1st.
Sal, are you also going to pick St. Louis, or do you have something?
No, I'm going Milwaukee. I think
we're all in such
pitching.
agreement here. I like it.
I'm looking for Yelich to have a bounce back year.
Okay, I like it.
There's nothing else in that division. I mean, Cincinnati just destroyed their team. Joey Votto is now like a 250 hitter. There's nothing. I mean, the Cubs, what do they have? Name a Cub.
Marcus Stroman.
Well, right, but name a Cub. They've got
Ernie Banks.
Can't name a Cub.
He's still there.
Ernie Banks, right?
Yeah, Ernie Banks is still there.
Right.
They got a guy named Suzuki playing right field now. So not the right one, but
nice.
Not the right one. Yeah. And the Cubs had their improbable win, which could only come against the Cleveland Indians. It was the only way that all the karma was going to work in their favor. So well, let's take a look at the American League, and we will go on to project playoff matchups. But let's go through the AL first. I look at the American League East, and you see how good 3 of those teams are, and how really bad the Orioles are. And, it's not, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really see. I mean, I would like to be able to sit here right now and be like, yeah, I feel really good about the Blue Jays again, but I just, I don't know. It's hard to not pick the Red Sox or the Yankees ever. And as much as I would love to see the Toronto Blue Jays, have some kind of resurgence of greatness. But I think that the only reason I'm hesitant to pick the Yankees or the Red Sox is because I mean, the Yankees in particular, I feel like they did not do enough in the offseason. They were not very good last year.
Not
They did not make
nearly
themselves-
enough.
They did not make themselves better. So it is a feeling. I am going to pick the Toronto Blue Jays. I just don't think I'm right. That's what all of that was about. Was that I'm just like, it's really hard to say, but I can see their team being put together better. But am I going to be shocked if the Yankees or the Red Sox win? No. Also, the Rays somehow managed to be competitive, even though there's more people on our split screen right here than there are usually at Tropicana Field for a Rays home game. But what do you think, David, when you look at the AL East?
Well, I want to just comment on what you said about people in the stands, because the Mets were playing the Pirates the other day, and I believe the lowly Pirates outdrew the Tampa Bay Rays last year, according to the announcers. So what does that tell you? The Rays win.
Wow.
And Pittsburgh has a much nicer stadium.
Yeah.
But
that is my favorite of all the stadiums. I love that stadium in Pittsburgh. The location. I believe that's the Allegheny, but the being on the river like that, that's my favorite stadium. I love that stadium.
Well, my wife and I, when we had one kid, we have three now and they're all older, but we had one newborn. We used to do baseball tours. We would plan our vacations around really nice stadiums. So I got to go to the first ever game at PNC Park. It was the game before opening day, and the Mets played the Pirates in an what do you call it when it's an exhibition game. So I got to go to the game, before opening day, and things weren't set up right, and the food lines were crazy. But that is the most beautiful view of any ballpark, having the skyline. Now, have you been to Cincinnati?
I went to the old one. They were building Great American Ballpark in the outfield when I was there. So I was at, I believe it wasn't even called Riverfront anymore. It was whatever the corporate branding was.
Something.com.
Yeah, it was like Synergy or something. I don't really remember. But I have not been to the current ballpark there in Cincinnati. And I think David had something similar happen to what Sal was doing earlier with the camera. So Sal, let me ask you about the AL East. Your thought first, very quickly, Sal.
Well,
get to David.
Toronto has improved themselves immeasurably over the past couple of seasons. I was watching some Vladimir Guerrero Jr. clips.
I do like him.
Spring training. Man, he hits the ball hard. I'm not convinced they have enough pitching. They signed that guy from Seattle, a Japanese pitcher, another lefty, and I thought that was a poor choice. Not because of the numbers quite so much, but him and Ryu are very, very, very similar pitchers, left-handed junk ballers.
Right.
So, do they need somebody who's going to strike out batters in the American League East? Probably. Do they have that? I don't know. So I am not picking the Blue Jays.
So who are you picking?
I am picking the Yankees, unfortunately.
I mean, it's a safe bet. It's hard, I mean,
I think that Judge and Stanton are going to have monster years, and that's going to propel them over the top.
Yeah, I think that
and
the biggest
do
concern,
have Garrett Cole.
Well, I was going to say the biggest concern, I think, for the Yankees should be Garrett Cole's ERA when you weren't allowed to cheat anymore. Once they started checking, his ERA was like 6. So
was it really? Was it?
No,
I'm
exaggerating. Big? It was like 4.5 though. It was like a
4.5.
It was more than a run than it was before.
Wow.
Look, it's like you can't go wrong if you're going to pick the Yankees to win the division because they have the resources. They just chose not to use them so far. So we'll see. David, what do you think?
Am I good on sound?
Yeah, you're good on sound now. Yes.
You hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
As long as you hear us,
good.
We hear you. Yeah.
I like the Blue Jays lineup. Yes. Yeah. I like the Blue Jays lineup a lot. I think losing Marcus Semien is a big ding. The Red Sox losing Chris Sale now for 60 minimum. That's a big dent right there. So the lineup they have, the Yankees, Boy, I agree. They didn't do enough in the offseason, but they held out at first base. They got Rizzo back. He was still out there. I thought they'd go Freeman or Correa. Freeman in that stadium would have been a monster, and with that short right field.
Yeah, but
perfect fit.
Not. He scatters the ball. He's not quite.
Yeah, absolutely. But you go left center
and pull hitter like that. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But I did like him in that. I did like him for the defense, and I was surprised that Donaldson is a nice plug-in. If the rest of your lineup is great, the shortstop situation, they were hamstrung by the fact that they've got a prospect they want to protect. Kind of Falefa. I'll tell you a quick story. When they traded him from the Rangers to the Twins, I thought, wow, what an annoying name to have to say all the time and have to hear it. I'm glad he's not playing in New York. And then a couple hours later, he's playing in New York. And now every time I watch Sports Night New York or whatever, I have to hear, kind of Falefa. It's just, it'll grow on you, but it's such a unusual name. It's like when they got Odor. It's like, oh, that's that guy in Texas, right? It was like Roughneck Odor. And I read somewhere, I didn't know this because I'm not a fan of the Yankees, but I guess at one point his nickname was Stink, which is,
I mean, that's fair.
It's fair. It's fair. So I'm gonna go Blue Jays because of the injury to Chris Sale, and because I don't think the Yankees have enough offense behind the plate. I don't think the left side of their infield is going to be what they think it is, and I don't know what Stanton is showing up. Sal, I like that you're hoping for the Twin Towers, but I don't know if he's going to hold up the whole season.
One other point on that, Donaldson gets injured a lot.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Well, and I think that the thing to remember about the Yankees is that was their problem down the stretch last year was they just did not hit. It actually wasn't. I mean, the pitching was a story, but what's colder than being cold? The Yankees bats. That's and a division that I guess I care about a little bit because of the sheer number of Angels games I end up at, and the fact that the Mets will be playing in Anaheim, which does not happen often enough for my tastes. But we will be there. Sal, my wife, and I will be there for a 7-line game, a road game for them. So that'll be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the first time
that they've come 7-line game.
Yeah. So that should be fun, and I think look, there's something that I like about being able to see Noah Syndergaard pitch as long as he stays healthy, but I don't think that team is going to be very good. And that's a division where you look at it and you go like, how is anybody going to beat the Astros? Also, you want to talk about a team that you get to beat up on. I saw a great stat earlier this week. In 1991, the Oakland Athletics had a $33 million payroll, which was the highest in baseball. In 2022, they still have a $33 million payroll, but it's the lowest in baseball.
I mean, that is shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. I mean, you should have to contract your team if you're not going to spend any money.
Yeah, if you can't
at least you should have to sell.
They should be relegated like in England. Go down to AAA.
What's the biggest shame? What the biggest shame is with Oakland is not that their payroll is $33 million. It's that their front office is so good that they can build up a team with no money, make the best draft picks, have amazing talent where they're not that bad every once in a while. Imagine that talent pool with money. Now, they wouldn't be getting the high draft picks necessarily, but you'd like to see them have a really good draft and then get a new owner who throws money at them. Because look at the people they traded just this offseason. You give them a bigger payroll where they can add some free agents, and they're a hell of a ball club. They could have signed.
No, they are suffering from that stadium problem. I don't know what impact that has on their bottom line, but it's got to be a distraction where, if I'm a free agent, do I want to go to a place where, ownership, that you're not going to get big money ever, and that the team is itinerant at this point. I think they already bought land in Vegas for a stadium.
Yeah. Which is what I'm hoping for. I would love that team to move to Vegas. What were you going to say, David?
Vegas A's sounds great. I mean, the name works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
In fact, A's is in Vegas at the end, so you could just use that as a logo. Have Vegan and have the AS anyway. I want to tell you, I had an idea for a logo, and it's not going to work. I'm going to tell you that in a minute. Oakland's payroll is lower than Max Scherzer's salary this year.
Wow.
So
wow, you're right, aren't you?
right,
I just realized.
I mean,
like,
there's a handful of players who make. I mean, your pitcher in LA, I can't think of his name. He didn't pitch. This sexual deviant.
Oh, Bauer.
Trevor Bauer.
Trevor Bauer makes more.
Yeah.
When he doesn't have to play, and he made more than the A's.
Yeah.
So I thought the Tampa Bay Rays were going to go to Montreal, and so I was thinking
There's no place to play.
Yeah, but they were going to split their season. Right, they were going to do a third of the games in Montreal.
Yep.
So I thought like the
was...
Monterey, put the Ray in the middle, Montreal,
like that.
and have that logo. I was going to get it designed, and then they canceled it. So
yeah,
I lost out on millions.
All that,
is really my point.
All that work.
Yeah.
So what do you think, David? As we look at the AL West, is it
like you said, the division's a mess. The Astros lost Correa. They lost Springer the year before. Verlander's up in the air, and yet they're still favored to win. And as a Mets fan, and I like the guy, I have to root against Syndergaard and Loop because the Angels stole my team. They stole my players.
Yeah.
So my only hope is that Syndergaard rehabs on their dime and then comes back to the Mets when he's healthy. That's what I'm hoping for.
I like that.
Let him have his unsure, comeback year where you don't know what he's going to do. And then when he's a free agent, we can talk about him coming back because he's not just a great
one
player.
Additional
he's a great
point about
I love him as a personality.
Syndergaard.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Sal?
Yeah, he still does not have a reliable breaking pitch.
Yeah.
And you can only throw 99 for so long if your fastball does not have movement, because major league hitters can time a bullet, as they say. And should he get hurt again, without, let's say, right now he's unable to throw 99 or 100. Let's say he's at 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the same pitcher.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a breaking pitch.
Yeah.
And at 95, 96, I'm digging in.
I'm not sure I'm exact, Sal, but he had a decent curveball, but I think after he had that lat injury, he stopped throwing it as much.
Okay, well maybe he'll throw breaking pitches more this year, but
you're
I
right.
think he's a two pitch pitcher right now.
Yeah, and I don't want to see him in the bullpen, but he'd be deadly in a bullpen.
Gee, I think the Mets missed an opportunity to make him a closer, because I would rather see him in there than Edwin Diaz. But
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
you could play some kind of Nordic music, have lightning strikes as he's coming in.
Sure, thunder,
right?
Yeah,
or even thunder, but AC/DC.
Yeah,
right. Entrance music.
Come on, it's that song is loaded at every stadium for really every sport.
But now you've got a guy named Thor. You can't get more perfect.
So hard to see anything other than the Astros. Sal, do you have a different feeling? Do you
not
think
in the AL West? I mean, Angels hype is hype. Ohtani's on the cover of whatever that video game is, and he's the show, and he'll probably win MVP again. But long term, the Angels have a problem. Let's face it, Mike Trout is going to be 31 this year.
Yeah,
his numbers are starting to drop. He was hurt most of last season.
Yeah.
And Ohtani, I mean, I think it's too much strain on the human body, what he's doing, and is he, let's say he's unable to do one or the other thing. Is he then that valuable to the team? I think they'd be lucky to finish within 5 games of 500 because they have no pitching. Even with Syndergaard, if he's your number one starter, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's
Astros is the class of that division.
I do agree with Larry. I can't fathom how they couldn't build a team around Ohtani and Mike freaking Trout. I mean, you have the two of the best players.
Moreno doesn't care.
No, I mean, he cared about when he took over the team. It was a lot of like, let's lower the beer prices, let's do that stuff. But actually building a team that can win is not something that he's been able to do. And honestly, I don't know how much.
But how surprising was it, guys, that Trout signed up again? He could have gotten that money anywhere. He knows he's not going to win unless his goal is to overcome everything and be the guy who finally got the Angels to win. But now they're talking. There was rumblings he might be moved out of center soon, either this year or next year. Yeah, that's a sign. It's time.
It is a sign.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, look, it's Anaheim. I know that they put the words Los Angeles in front of their team, but I think in general, people they remember that it was only 20 years since they won the World Series. I mean, they're like, yeah, we remember that was fun.
And they won it without Mike Trout.
Yeah, sure did. But yeah, so I think that that's a team that doesn't have a reason to be more competitive, and it's a great point from Larry. Though you would just look at that and like, yeah, you have those pieces, you should be able to do it. In the NFL, you can kind of win a championship if you have like the two best players.
I think one of Moreno's huge errors was paying Pujols all that money for
10
such
years,
a long time.
Yeah,
that was a hole in the lineup where that was dead money that they could have used on other players. And, they're always looking, they've got Joe Adell now, I guess he's going to replace Upton in the outfield. Remains to be seen whether this guy can play.
Because they cut Upton and they're going to eat like $28 million. So yeah, that tells you how productive.
Imagine being rich enough to eat $25 million.
I can't even imagine being rich enough to eat $25.
Yeah, I bought a bagel at Manhattan Bagels yesterday morning for $3.68, and I just felt like I had beaten the system somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Somehow, I don't know.
As we look at the AL Central, this is the first year where we can consider and say the phrase, hey, are the Guardians going to be any good? But it's still Cleveland, so the answer is no. I think there's something about the Twins that I usually like, but I see the White Sox repeating this year. I think that they did move their closer, but I think that there's so many bad teams and so many divisions that it's easy to pick one or two. It's like, yeah, this is the one that's supposed to do it. David, I'm sorry, Sal. I did call you David this time. I meant to call you Sal.
That's all right.
What do you think? We watched some White Sox playoff at Finney's.
We did,
and that was painful. The White Sox in the playoffs this past year.
Yeah,
but I still feel like they're going to win their division.
They're going to win that division, I think, easily. I looked at their lineup the other day. Powerful.
Sure.
Powerful. The pitching, everyone's pitching's a little iffy, but they did add Johnny Cueto this morning, so they got that going for them.
Yikes. Yeah, but I mean, it's like...
I was hoping he'd go to the Mets.
Well, I don't know that I was hoping, but I mean, you'd think that they should be doing some more last minute moves for
they need another. Well, Lance Lynn went down, so that's why they replaced Lance Lynn with Johnny Cueto, which is replacing your Maserati with a Yugo.
Yugo. What do you think, David? Do you think that the Chicago White Sox are the best of a collection of bad teams? As someone that Sal and I worked with for a long time, Dennis Miller once described something as being like the valedictorian at summer school. Somebody has to. Is that the White Sox?
Yeah, I think that's the White Sox. I think, as Sal said, the lineup is dangerous. They're going to score a lot of runs. They're going to give up a lot of runs. But who in that division is even close? The Tigers added some pieces. They'll be competitive, but they can't touch the White Sox. And so by default, the ugly girl is going to win because she's the only girl at the school of all men. So someone's going to dance with her, So I like the White Sox, and I hate to say that out loud, but I think they're the clear choice.
Yeah, and then as we put together the American League in terms of the playoffs, I feel like the Blue Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox will all make the postseason. Just that they'll slot up against each other, and I think that it almost doesn't matter how it gets duked out because to me every year the AL ends with Houston in the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only win when they cheat, but they don't have to cheat to beat up on some of these other teams. It's like, okay, if the Rays come out from out of nowhere, the Rays aren't going to out pitch or out hit. And, I think the White Sox will be gone early. So, I mean, yeah, I could seed them like that, but it seems it's like Sal, it's like taking on the Borg. Resistance is futile, and
Resistance is
I think
futile.
that the Astros are just going to assimilate everyone, and they thrive on the fact that people think that they're still cheaters. What do you think, David? Do
They
you
are.
think that it's a foregone conclusion, or could there be something more out there? Could I give the Blue Jays more credit, David?
I think the Blue Jays deserve a little more credit.
Great.
I think losing Correa is going to. I don't know what kind of season Bregman's going to have, but losing Correa is a big hit to that team. Altuve's still great, so I give him that. Verlander, what's he got left?
Big
this
question
year?
mark.
Right? Big
Yeah.
question mark. And this year they just announced today they're going to use the electronic signs system. So even if the Astros wanted to steal signs, they will not be able to unless they have some kind of decoder box in their dugout to get the beeps and decode the beeps.
Right.
No, I'm going. I think the Astros are going to take an early exit in the playoffs. They'll
Nice.
make it because the division's terrible,
Sure.
but they're not. I don't think they're going to get out of the first round. I don't think the pitching.
Do you like the Blue Jays, the White Sox, or another team that'll make it as a wild card?
Oh boy, I think the wild cards are going to come out of the AL East. I mean, they're all going to.
I do too.
They're all out of there.
Me
So
too.
if it's the Red Sox and Yankees, the Yankees and Blue Jays. There's too many good teams there, and
Yeah.
the Central Division in baseball, both leagues, not a lot to look at in either league, unfortunately.
Terrible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, terrible. Yeah. I definitely
Horrible.
agree. Sal, what are your thinking as you look at the AL?
I'm in
headed into the
agreement.
playoffs?
I'm in agreement with Brooklyn's finest down there that it's going to be AL East, Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays.
Yeah.
As brilliant as the Tampa Bay management has been, I think it's going to take them another season to rebuild their bullpen and whatever else they jettisoned in the off season for payroll reasons.
Yeah. Well, then when we bring it back to what we really care about, do the Mets get further than a wild card game this year?
No.
I'll ask you first, Sal. So you think that they could get to a wild card game, but they're going to lose?
No, I don't think they're getting a wild card game.
You don't even think they're going to get to a wild card game? Okay.
You don't think they're going to make the playoffs?
No, I don't.
I've got them in the wild card game, probably playing in it on the road, not hosting it.
Yeah.
Going to like
If
San Francisco or somewhere.
If DeGrom was healthy, I'd say yeah.
Okay.
But without, I'm thinking All-Star break if they say a soft June 1st.
That's fair.
And they can't rush it.
No,
So
Yeah.
let's say, what is the greatest expectation for the Mets in the first half of the season? 5 games above 500,
yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
They were 8 games under last year. Are they that much better with Scherzer? You can't expect Scherzer to do what DeGrom did in the first half of last season.
Yeah. Well, do you have the Dodgers as the class of the National League, or do you think that the Braves are
Definitely.
possibly going? Okay, so the Braves aren't going to repeat.
I'm expecting Dodgers Braves and Dodgers winning it.
Okay.
Did I just
so Dodgers
tip my
Braves
hand, or-
NLCS? I can see that. What? Sorry, what did you say? I
Yeah.
spoke over you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. David, do you
No,
have?
I said,
You
did I
see,
tip
David, you
my
seem a
hand?
little bit
Were we
more
on to that
optimistic when
already?
it comes to the Mets. We both have them at least playing in a wild card game.
Yeah, I
Even,
have them making
even
the
pie in the
playoffs,
sky is not high enough up in the sky if you're a Mets fan. But
Yeah,
we
you know
want
what?
something.
I have them making the playoffs only because I don't think I don't think the Giants are going to come close to repeating what they did. I think Tatis Jr. being out for
I agree with that.
A long period of time with his motorcycle injury. I don't see a challenger to the wild card. And if I'm the Mets and I've got maybe DeGrom, but probably Scherzer pitching that wild card game, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So it always depends on DeGrom. So I'm going to say DeGrom June 1st, and he's DeGrom the rest of the way. They're in the playoffs. They take on the Braves. I think Mets, Dodgers, depending on the seeding, of course. But I think the Mets can go far in the playoffs. DeGrom mid-July, August, and he's unsure, and they're giving him 5 days rest on a 6-man rotation, and they're keeping him,
and he can only go 5 innings.
Right, and he got to bring in bullpen help, or they start doubling up, and Taijuan Walker comes in the 5th, and I don't feel as confident. And Scherzer's 37, so you got to have to ease up on him at some point in the season.
He's going to have aches and pains.
Yeah, I think the MVP right now, because he's unexpected, is Bassett. I think that was a huge pickup for them. Yeah, and if he gets 32 starts this year, and at his age, he's a breath of fresh air for that team, then I'm not as worried about the top 2 guys. That's a hell of a pickup. So I think he's going to play a big role in their success. And which Taijuan Walker shows up.
If
first half, retired half.
David, if
first
DeGrom
half
comes back,
half.
if DeGrom comes back on June 1st, David, do you think that they actually could make it to the World Series, or do you think that they would lose to the Dodgers no matter what happened?
Oh boy, in a short season. Listen, after 1988, when the Mets dominated the Dodgers 11 out of 12 and still lost to the Dodgers, if you're hot in the playoffs and you're bringing a healthy DeGrom, Scherzer, and Bassett in a postseason series, and Kershaw's not looking good anymore. Their rotation's not going to hold up, and I'll take pitching over hitting in the postseason every time.
Oh, absolutely.
So I like my chances with a healthy top 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that of course is a huge if, but if this is the only time we can allow ourselves as Mets fans to be optimistic is before the season, before there's actually been a pitch thrown that matters. What were you going to say, Sal?
I was going to say, all things being, let's say DeGrom comes back and they make that wild card game.
Yeah.
If they win that wild card game, then in a short series, if you have DeGrom and Scherzer and Bassett lined up, boy, that is tough to beat.
Yeah.
I just feel that Edwin Diaz, there's a Yiddish expression called "tuchesafen tish."
Tish, yeah.
Tish, right, which means literally ass on the table. It's a poker reference, kind of, show your cards.
Yeah.
And when the pressure's on, Diaz has shown that he's not up to the task.
I think when at the bachelor party that I referenced earlier, I believe we went to a place called Ass on the Table, but that was much later in the night. Yeah, that was not for steaks. Look, I want to be able, and look, here's what I'll say is that the Mets have never lost an NLDS game that I've been at attendance in. I went in 2006 to all 3, the 2 at Shea and the 1 here at Dodger Stadium. And then in 2015, I went to games 1 and 5 and they won those. So I'll have to go, I guess, if they play. Wow. So
I'm not going to Dodger Stadium for a Mets playoff game. I think that's just too dangerous. I would rather stay home with my skull intact.
Well, you know what you do? You go in this color blue T-shirt.
Yeah.
And they don't know who you're wearing it for because it's the same blue.
Also, it's the same thing about the Dodger Stadium. Just spend a little bit more money. Don't sit in the cheap seats, and you're fine.
And plus, after the 6th inning, when everybody goes home, you can be a Mets fan as loud as you want.
You can move down. Right?
You can move down.
Right.
So as much as there's that huge if they get competent contributions from both DeGrom and Scherzer during the year, I can see the Mets doing it, but I don't have the faith that that's what we're going to get. I would love to see DeGrom. We're talking about that series in Anaheim. That's like June 11th. Boy, it'd be great if DeGrom pitches one of those games, especially if he matches up against Syndergaard.
Definitely.
It's just probably not going to happen.
By the way, you know what's interesting, Christian and Sal? we're talking about DeGrom, and yet we've got Lindor at short. We added Marte. We added Escobar and Kana, if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah.
Right. And we've added to the bullpen. They've done a lot to add to the team, and yet it all still revolves around, rightfully so, Jacob deGrom. So I know you were saying is Scherzer going to pitch as well as deGrom, did in the first half, to what's going to be their record at the All-Star break, but their team is much better now. We don't have a first baseman in left field.
The team is better on paper.
Sure.
There was still the worst. I mean, last season was the worst situational hitting. I think I could not believe it.
And I think the batting coach will make a difference this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening.
The philosophy changed.
I was listening to Keith Hernandez, and the man knows a lot about hitting, and he was saying in the nicest way possible that last year's hitting situation was a freaking disaster.
Yeah,
and that Chavez is going to bring them back to situational hitting and not just swinging for the fences and all that analytics. In fact, I read it, or someone said that the front office nerds were in the hitters meetings.
Yes, I read that. Yeah, that's not
you
right.
can't have that. I mean,
no,
it's not right. It's inappropriate. So that's gone. So we'll see. Situational hitting is very obvious. It's either happening or it isn't. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of those question marks. And I think if I had to fill out a betting slip right now, I would probably put my money on the Dodgers just because it's more of a safe bet. But that's not where my heart lies. And as with every year, I do always place a bet in the offseason that 1 year I'm going to actually get to pay out when the Mets do win the World Series. I have
you and Mattress Mac.
I have that $5 that'll turn into $100. So this year, because it was before the Scherzer signing, but then also before any injuries. Anyway, so we'll of course revisit before the postseason as we always do. But I think a relatively uninspired matchup of the Astros and the Dodgers, and then I feel like the Dodgers would just beat the Astros, but we get to revisit that in the postseason. If either of you want to project that far out, feel free to. Sal, do you feel like you can see a World Series matchup from everything we've talked about over the last hour and 12 minutes?
I'm saying Dodgers White Sox.
Okay.
Wow. I like that.
And the Dodgers win.
Well, yeah, I think if you're gonna concede that matchup, there's only one. There can be only one, as they say in Highlander. David, there've been a lot of question marks in here. Do you need to believe in your heart that it'll be the Mets year, and then that'll make the season fun, or do you see? Yeah, we've got a cardboard cutout right there.
That's right. He was at the games when I wasn't able to go to the games. He was
nice.
Oh, I forgot he did that. That's right.
This is my guy.
Oh, and they gave it back to you. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm friends with the company that prints these. So the guy,
sweet.
He does backdrops for me for my podcast. So anyway, I'm gonna say Mets or Dodgers, depending on deGrom.
Sure.
In the National League. Although I like the Braves, I think it's Mets Dodgers, and I think it's the ability at the trade deadline to pick up. That I think is going to play heavy. And in the American League, I'm going National League East no matter what. I'm going Blue Jays, maybe the Red Sox.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Blue Jays in a World Series. That would be fun.
Blue Jays, Dodgers, I would enjoy, but obviously, listen, I'll take Mets, Yankees. Don't get me wrong, I'd love that, but I think the safe bet, if you're a betting man, safe bet's Dodgers. And someone out of the AL East, I'm going to go Red Sox or Blue Jays. Is my top two picks. If I have a gun to my head, Chris Sale out, I'm going Blue Jays.
Mets, Yankees obviously makes it fun for your day job doing morning radio in New York City. I know that the show is on throughout the country, but obviously you're all based there, so that it would be hard to.
Our second biggest affiliate is Philadelphia, so I do. We also have to root for
Philadelphia.
By the way, I did want to give credit to, was it the guy who chimed in a couple of times? Was it Larry?
Larry P. Larry
want to give
P.
him credit as a Phillies fan. When he put up Jacob deGrom's initials, I don't know if you noticed it. It was J,
JDG.
little D, and a G. He took the time to
Yes.
give us the
Yeah.
little. There you go, Larry.
There it
He
is.
gave
Yeah.
us the time to give
Checking
us
in.
the little D, which is respect.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That's a baseball fan there, because
It's a great
sometimes
point.
Met fans tweet and they don't spell it right, and it bothers me. And I give him
Yeah.
props. So good for you, Larry.
As a Met fan, we're far from being the most literate fan base.
That's fair. That's a safe bet. Well, it's going to be fun. I'm glad that look, going back 2 months, I wasn't really sure how the season was going to shape up. The fact that we're starting
If there was going to be a season.
Yeah, the fact that we're starting a week late and they're just going to tack that week on at the end, so we're going to get 162 games. I know people it didn't sit well with, but I'm not one of them. I'm excited. And you know what? He responded immediately, Larry P. Just give him respect where it's due. It is definitely due.
Yeah, and give us back Zach Wheeler, you bastards.
yeah. Now we need him. I still feel like they would have had to overpay for him.
Absolutely.
But had I known how much they needed another frontline pitcher, it's a little it's very easy to second guess that.
Uncle Stevie would have paid him.
Yeah, Uncle Stevie definitely would have paid him, but
Probably,
not the Coupon family, which I don't know how I never heard that. I love that so much.
Yeah, Freddie
I
Coupon.
never heard that either. I love that.
Well, Sal, obviously people will be able to find you on social media on Thursday when you come over for opening day, which is at a very respectable 1 p.m. Pacific time. So I can fire up the grill. And of course, at D Weiss Comedy on Twitter, but that's not
at
your
D Weiss
Instagram.
Comedy.
I don't know what your Instagram is. Do you know what your Instagram is, Sal? It's like,
oh no, you blacked out for a second.
Oh well,
that's D Weiss Picks. My
P-I-X.
Instagram is D Weiss PIX,
which
W.
Which of course reminds me that both of you will remember the
Picks.
The over-the-air video game they used to play on Channel 11 WPIX.
It was in television. It was in Mattel television, but on TV. Yeah,
and you would have to call in and over the phone, you picks. Yeah, and
WPIX 11. And when you wanted to pass the basketball or fire the gun or whatever it was, you'd yell picks, and you'd have to time it perfectly with a delay. And then after a while, you remember this, whoever the kid was would just go picks. So the guy would just keep hitting the button.
Yeah, that was the only way to possibly win. Right. Well, David, let's remind everybody about the 3 podcasts you have, and we'll do a big launch for the Uncooked Middle, but that's still in development. But the 3 existing podcasts and
all right,
social
you've
media
got
and all that good stuff.
The Elvis Duran Morning Show, 15-minute morning show podcast, which is on all platforms, including iHeartRadio, which is the company I work for, iHeartMedia. That is also on Elvis Duran Show on Instagram, so you can see the video version of it. I'm often wearing Mets shirts. Walkers and Talkers, which is on social media at Walkers_Talkers, because everything else was taken. And at the Brooklyn Boys on social media, and of course the Brooklyn Boys podcast. And I'm available on at David Brody, Brody, on all social media platforms. And I'm not the Christian News Network guy, even though I get tons of tweets about him. I get called the most awful names because people think I'm him. Oh, I'm a Nazi. I'm a terrible Christian, which I'm not. I'm not a Christian.
You know what though? To them, that's the worst kind of Christian.
I tell them, I go, I'm a terrible Christian. I'm such a bad Christian. I'm a Jew. So that's how bad.
There you go.
So yeah, at David Brody, check out the podcast. And this was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the flexibility of working around my schedule. And
we were happy to do it, and I look forward to having you on some other shows in the near future, talking Moon Knight and who knows what else. But
the first 4 episodes were excellent.
I've only seen the first one because I apparently fell off of the screeners list for Disney Plus. I still get to go to the movies, but I don't get the shows early anymore. So
all right, well, I'll send you an email to the person you need to beg to get back on.
Yep. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Anyway, David, Sal, thanks so much. And Sal, you have a big night out tonight. You were up in Sacramento. Yes. So where are you going tonight?
I'm up in Sacramento visiting my son. And this evening I'm going to opening night, the Sacramento River Cats, AAA affiliate of the San Francisco Giants.
Oh, nice.
I'm very excited. I
Yeah.
I love a nice minor league ballpark, and checking that out. And you've got the hookup there at the River Cats. So
Yes,
can't
I have
wait to
I
hear
have a
about-
relative in the front office.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And
So-
where can I get
know.
tickets to you visiting your son? Where's that? Is that available?
At
for purchase?
D Weiss Comedy.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
You just go
DM
right there.
DM me.
Very
I'll
nice.
fly you out.
Sal, David, thank you both so much. Excited to see how the season plays out. Usually when we do the postseason preview, we're always so way off. So that'll be fun to talk about. That's all the time we have for now, but we will see you next time on the Bladtcast.
Do we all kiss?
We can. Except it's not.
All right, I'm off, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
You too. Thank
It was
you.
a pleasure, guys. Pleasure meeting you, Sal, Christian.